We are living in a society where technology dictates our every move. While technology can be a very good addition to our daily lives, it can also be used in negative ways. An example including technology has to be the hit Netflix show Alice in Borderland, which came out on Netflix in 2020. It has 2 seasons so far and was based on the Japanese suspense manga series written by Hara Aso with the same name in 2010. The premise and main idea of the show is that advanced technology was used as a way to create a deadly game. This game was created as a way to overlook what the players are doing and as a way of controlling them. This gives the game creators power over the players and lets them monitor them closely. We also see the different characters playing the game get addicted because they are obsessed with the idea of winning and wanting it badly. This show did a great job in viewing technology in different aspects such as privacy, obsession, and control. The setting of the show also tells a lot about the premise of it entirely. The world is set up in an alternate version of Tokyo, Japan, except in this version there are barely any people around, and the ones who remain are participants in this deadly game where now they will fight for their lives. The show also uses the idea of playing cards. The intensity of the game depends on the game classification as being spades, clubs, diamonds, hearts, and the face cards. Heart games use psychology and manipulation against other players. They're considered to be a little bit easier for individual players. The club games require teamwork as the main goal. The spade games measure physical agility and endurance. The stronger you are, the more you can win. And the diamond games usually use actual intelligence, skill, and wit to win. The face card games are usually considered the hardest out of their respective categories. To summarize the entire idea, the higher the ranking of the card, the harder the game gets. There were countless games on this show. 3 of my favorites are shown here. First game is called Dead or Alive. This could be seen in the upper left-hand side where the 2 main guys are holding phones. In this game, the contestants all had 1 minute to enter between 2 doors. One door had a bomb, and the other door would have led them to safety. They had to use each other as well as math to get to the door safely so that they wouldn't be killed. Another game is called Tag. That could be seen in the picture with the guy in the horse mask and the other guy holding a fire extinguisher. In this game, you have to hide from the masked killer who can only see straight ahead due to his mask, and if you are caught, you are killed by him. And lastly, a personal favorite of mine is called Solitary Confinement, which is that picture with the girl in the blue dress in the middle. In this game, contestants are wearing a collar with a symbol on the back, and they have to rely on each other to tell them the symbol, and if it's correct, they survive for another round, and if it's not, they're blown up. The last person to survive, or the last few people to survive, end up winning the game. Altogether, contestants have to be quick on their feet and not too trusting of others because lying to others and getting them caught actually betters their chances of winning. Towards the middle of the show, we are met with the game makers who thoroughly enjoy watching people struggle and die and try their best to manipulate the players as they keep going. Another really big element of dystopia is having that savior in a story/movie. This TV show falls under that same idea as well. In this show, it is usually the main character Aruso, who is pictured here, who ends up saving his group members time and time again in each and every game. Although the top 10 members are constantly shown in this TV series are all very skilled, whether it be mentally or physically or even both, he is the one guy that has everything in him to keep the group together and winning. He usually makes an amazing revelation in the middle that ends up making the rest of the game very easy for everyone else. This idea is very similar to the one that we constantly see in lots of other dystopian literature. It's the constant hinting of the idea that the group would not have survived if it wasn't for our hero and his bravery and brains. Stereotypically, Aruso was that one guy who tried to help everyone and tried to befriend everyone and tried to put himself ahead of others in terms of danger and others in front of himself in terms of survival. Throughout the show, he showed again and again, and through different examples, that he is a very kind-hearted soul, and in a way, his personality and heart worked for his favor in each and every game, all the way to the very end. Although it was a bit apparent from the very beginning, and this is a spoiler alert, but Aruso is one of the only winners in the game. I believe this series is a great example of our expectations of a dystopia. It talks about a world that is oppressive to everyone, and people have no choice but to play a game, and a deadly one, in order to survive. A lot of dystopian stories that we grew up reading had heavy themes of power, social inequality, and governments where a few people were on top that controlled everything and everyone below them. This show describes the same exact thing. One of my favorite elements is the feeling of constant danger, and many dystopian stories are filled with this feeling as well. The series itself captured that perfectly in every episode, where every character is left playing with their lives, not knowing what's happening next and if they're going to make it in the next minute or not. In the real world, technology is a really big problem. We often see everyone around us has technology and relies on it heavily. In the show, technology is used as a commentary on issues including, but not limited to, social isolation and social inequality, and how that has been more prevalent in society since the rise of technology. The show itself represents a great metaphor in which people go against each other to survive in many different yet specific ways. We all know that technology is both good and bad, but the show does a great job in exploring how technology controls and creates a dangerous social dynamic. While the show is fake and represents a dystopia, it also represents a cautious tale about something our society can't live without, which is being technology. It wouldn't take much for this horrible reality or nightmare to become a reality. It offers a warning about technology itself and the dangers that it may present in the future. It allows us to realize that technology is not all that good, and we should open our eyes sooner than later. This show fits our example of dystopias really well. In the beginning, and definitely throughout the entire show, it represents a society that is both oppressive and messed up. The characters are forced to play a game and bet on their life without any say whatsoever. The game itself has very dangerous consequences, and only the game makers seem to enjoy this game. We see in the show that more people end up dying than surviving at the end. Dystopians are usually known for having a theme of corruption and social inequality issues, just like the show. The show discusses these problems really well and talks about constantly reminding people that the characters are stuck in a situation where they have to make difficult choices and oftentimes go against what they actually believe. In the review of Alice in Borderland, written by high schooler Christy Castellanos, she makes a really good statement about this. And I quote, "Director Sato envelops the brutality of human suffering and the lengths in which people are suffering to go to rise above and survive in the series, but he also shows compassion that is right in terms of desperation in the friendship when he talks about humanity," end quote. I believe this further encompasses and argues the idea that people stuck in a dystopian society usually know what's going on is wrong around them, but they still end up doing what is required of them, just like we see the characters in Alice in Borderland. They play the games even though they know that they're playing for their life and know that that idea is wrong. They know their safety is on the line, and they know that the government doesn't really care about them, but they still have to play exactly like the government says. In general, I would say Alice in Borderland is a very well done example of a dystopian society story in which a different world is introduced that relies heavily on technology industry in a time and a way that is captivating yet cautious at the same time. While the show itself is supposed to be very lighthearted, it does talk about a lot of major yet sensitive topics. These topics are the same things that people should take away from the series. For starters, it raises a really good question about the role of technology and whether it is as good as it always seems to be. It definitely causes people to think about technology and how far it could go one day, and what would be considered way too far. I believe it will definitely make people think once again of becoming more and more dependent on technology. It reminds us of a reality that could be if we allow technology to take control on ourselves. Another really good topic that they talk about is the psychological aspect that the characters went through in the show. While tricking others and being fake to one another is a really big part of the show, we could see through Aruso and his main group that working together and being fair to each other paid off more, especially in the end by all of them surviving. Examples like these would also allow the audience to definitely think about the social inequality that takes place in both fiction and the real world.